This is the best thing CBS-era Fender ever did, and I stand on that business. Hey everybody, welcome back to Cream City Music. I'm Jacob, and this is another episode of On the Bench. Today we're talking about what I'm going to stand on as the best thing CBS Fender ever did, and that is the 1970s Fender Telecaster Custom. The big additions to the Telecaster Deluxe and the Telecaster Custom is that it has dual volume tone controls like a Les Paul and a three-way pickup switch on the upper bout of the body like a Les Paul. 3-bolt Fender F-stamped neck plate with the micro tilt. You get the polyurethane finish. You get the 70s Fender headstock logos, the 70s Fender F-stamped tuners. So in 1972, this debuts alongside the Fender Telecaster Deluxe and the second version of the Fender Telecaster Thin Line. This guitar differed from those two because it still had the Telecaster bridge pickup, but they put this wide range humbucker in the neck position to kind of mimic what a lot of the guys in the late 60s and early 70s were doing, which was putting Gibson PAFs, or patent number pickups, in the neck position of their Telecasters. Guys like Terry Reid and Roy Nichols and Keith Richards were doing this, and Fender said,
well, if people are just modifying their guitars to be this way, why don't we just build a new guitar that's already like that and make the money ourselves?
In the late 60s, Seth Lover had ended his contract with Gibson, and he very quickly got scooped up by Fender to design them a humbucker in the same vein that Gibson had originally asked Seth Lover to design the humbucker, which was to make a pickup that sounded like a single coil but didn't have the hum. So that pickup gets designed in the late 60s and early 70s. These are very large humbuckers. Like, underneath this cover, that's all bobbin and magnet. It's not just a Gibson PAF underneath of a large cover. They are fairly high output, a lot of them coming around the 10.3 range, but they have a little bit of a chime to them, a little bit more of a single coil voicing. They don't have that big, woolly, velvety, dark tone that you'd expect out of a humbucker in the neck position, especially not one this size. Now, in tandem with the Telecaster bridge pickup, they just have this very punchy sound that you cannot really get on any other guitar, which I think attributes to this model's popularity and overall cool factor a lot more. So in 1971, you get the introduction of the now infamous Fender 3-bolt neck plate on the Stratocaster. It gets adopted the rest of the range in 1972, like the Jazz Bass, the Telecaster line, and you get the addition of the micro tilt. Micro tilt is just Fender's way of being able to skirt past having accurately routed neck cavities. If your neck angle is a little off, you just use the micro tilt to adjust that, and you can correct most of your issues. In addition to the 3-bolt neck plate and micro tilt, Fender does one thing that is not controversial and is universally lauded as being the best thing they could have done at the time, which is the bullet truss rod adjustment, which is a major improvement over the old heel adjustment you saw back in the 50s and 60s, just like nature intended it to be. So even in an era when the Stratocaster was considered kind of junk, the Telecaster was actually still pretty solid yet, and the Tele Custom was considered to be probably the king of the crop out of all of them. As a whole, something about these is just a little bit different. They have a very distinct sound that you get to hear on a ton of different records, especially from the Rolling Stones. Keith Richards is probably the best known adopter for this model. And even in an era where we considered Fenders to be subpar, to say the least, these things seem to be very well built and solid still. Solid enough to where Keith Richards could smack a dude upside the head with one on stage and throw it back on, and it was still in tune, and he didn't even seem to be worried about it. All right, folks, that wraps it up for this episode of On the Bench. If you want to check out this guitar or any other guitars we have in our shop, you can find them at creamcitymusic.com. And if you like pure gear demos with no commentary, you can check out our series Tone Check right here on our YouTube channel. I've been Jacob, I will continue to be Jacob, and this was On the Bench. Thank you.